imagine you're sitting at a desk running this sprawling organization, all right? Like millions of people depend on your daily decisions.
Yeah, high stakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here is the catch. You don't have the internet. You don't have smartphones or even a basic postal system.
Right.
If you need to send a message to one of your regional managers, it has to be carried on horseback or literally by foot through dense jungles and, over mountain ranges.
Which takes months, right?
Literally months to arrive. And to make matters worse, half the time, the person who eventually writes you back is actively lying to you. Like they are trying to trick you into starting a war or just straight up sending them money.
I mean, that is just the ultimate nightmare scenario for any leader. You're entirely blind.
Yeah.
You're relying on this deeply flawed, incredibly slow stream of information to make life or death decisions.
And that is exactly what we are looking at today. Welcome to this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
Today, we are taking you into the incredibly detailed day-by-day imperial records of the Ming Dynasty. Specifically, a text called the Ming Shilu.
Right, which is just a massive undertaking.
Oh, completely. We're focusing on this fascinating window of time between, I think it's 1402 and 1627. And we're looking at how the Ming emperors interacted with Laos and, well, the southwestern borderlands in general.
Now, I know on the surface, reading 15th century imperial bureaucratic records might sound a little dry.
Right, like an audio textbook or something.
Yeah, but trust me, you are going to want to hear this.
You really are. The sources we've pulled for you today outline this just gripping saga. I mean, we are talking about massive espionage campaigns, shifting alliances, wild geopolitical fake news.
And some surprisingly brilliant problem solving.
Oh, absolutely. Because at its core, ruling an empire from afar is, it's fundamentally an exercise in managing human behavior.
Right. The technological constraints were obviously different, but the problems the Ming court faced are structurally the exact same problems we face today.
And that is our mission for this deep dive.
Yeah.
We're going to extract the wisdom from how these Ming emperors handled these massive border crises and essentially translate them into concrete, practical tools that you can use in your daily life.
Yeah.
Whether you are navigating treacherous office politics or dealing with a family drama that's spiraling completely out of control.
Or just trying to avoid modern text message scams.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Ming Dynasty has a playbook for you.
Okay.
Let's unpack this.
Well, let's start in October 1404, right? This is during the reign of the young-led emperor. And the Ming court was facing this massive, massive crisis of trust.
Because of the distance.
Exactly. Because the borderlands, these remote regions in the southwest, they were thousands of miles from the capital. And that distance created a huge administrative vacuum.
And nature abhors a vacuum. Scammers, I imagine, were more than happy to step in.
Oh, they absolutely were. You had random people, like low-level military personnel, ambitious civilians, just completely faking their identities. They would show up in these remote villages, declare themselves to be imperial envoys sent directly by the emperor, and then, well, they'd use that fake authority to extort the locals.
Just shaking them down?
Yeah, demanding bribes, causing utter chaos. It actually got to the point where the local populations were on the verge of armed rebellion just to protect themselves from these grifters.
But wait, I'm stuck on one detail here. Like, if I'm a local village leader, how do I even know what a real imperial envoy looks like? I mean, I've never been to the capital.
Right. That is exactly the problem. So the emperor has to figure out how to mathematically prove that an envoy is actually an envoy across thousands of miles of jungle.
Okay, so what do?
Well, his solution, which is documented in the Ming Shilu, is honestly brilliant. The Ministry of Rites, which was essentially the imperial department in charge of official ceremonies, diplomacy, managing borderland relationships.
Right.
They cast what they called verification tallies.
Like physical ID badges.
Way more secure than that. They cast these highly specific tallies out of solid bronze.
Oh.
Yeah, and they were inscribed with specific characters, like Wen for culture, Xing for action, Zong for loyalty, and Xin for trust.
Okay, so you have this heavy bronze badge.
Right, but having a heavy piece of bronze wasn't enough. The court realized a physical object could just be, stolen or forged by a really good blacksmith.
Sure.
So these bronze tallies were paired with highly specific paper stub books. Each book contained a sequence of exactly 100 tally slips.
Wait, so it's a two-part system. If an envoy arrives at your village in, say, Cheli, which was one of the regions down south, right?
Yes, exactly.
So they have to present the bronze tally, but then what? What do they do with the paper?
They also have to hand over a paper slip from that stub book,
Right.
and the slip has to have a specific designation character.
Like what?
Oh, well, the character Che, specifically for the Cheli region, and this is the kicker, it has to have a consecutive serial number that perfectly matches the master reference ledger held by the provincial administration.
I mean, so this is basically a 15th century physical encryption key.
It really is.
Having the bronze piece is totally useless unless you have the matching sequential paper slip from the ledger to actually decrypt it. It's literally multi-factor authentication.
That is precisely what it is, a mechanical paper and bronze 2FA system. And the emperor made the stakes incredibly high.
How high?
The orders were crystal clear. If the consecutive number was wrong, or if the designation character was off by even a single stroke, or if the guy had a bronze tally but no paper slip.
Yeah.
The local official had explicit imperial permission to immediately arrest the fraudster, bind them, and send them to the capital to be executed.
Whoa. So the emperor basically realized that distance creates a massive blind spot, and he built a cryptography system to remove blind trust from the equation entirely.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is how human nature and, the urge to run a scam really hasn't changed in 600 years.
Right. But how do we actually apply this? Because you and I aren't casting bronze tallies to verify our coworkers, right?
No, obviously not. But you are constantly receiving urgent, emotionally charged messages that demand immediate action.
Oh, for sure.
Think about the modern equivalent. You get a frantic email from your boss on a Friday afternoon asking you to quickly buy gift cards for a client.
Right, the classic gift card scam.
Exactly. Or you get a weird text from a family member saying they lost their phone, they're in jail, and they need you to wire money right now. In those moments of high stress, you need to apply the Ming tally system.
Meaning I shouldn't just panic and send the money. I need the second factor.
Exactly. Do not just trust the incoming message, no matter how official or urgent it looks. Digital distance creates the exact same vacuum for fraud that geographic distance did in 1404.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
You need your own reference stub book, basically.
Yeah.
Verify the identity through a secondary independent channel before you take any action.
So call the family member on a number you already know.
Yes, or walk over to your boss's desk and ask them in person. Demand the matching half of the tally.
That is such a concrete takeaway. Stop, breathe, and demand the second factor of authentication. But, I mean, as ingenious as that is, the tally system only solves the problem of a lone grifter scamming a village, right? What happens when the scammer isn't a random guy, but an entire neighboring country with a standing army?
Oh, man. That takes us right into the 1480s, during the Chenghua reign. We are shifting from small-time identity theft to an absolute geopolitical nightmare involving Annam, which is modern-day Vietnam, along with Laos, and another neighboring buffer state called Babai.
And the level of fake news the emperor has to deal with here is just staggering. According to the records, officials in the Yunnan province send this completely panicked report to the capital.
Oh, totally panicked.
They tell the emperor that Annam just invaded Laos and slaughtered 20,000 people. And worse, Annam is allegedly forging fake imperial orders using an unauthorized reign title called Hongdae to basically boss around everyone in the region.
Yeah, it's a massive, terrifying escalation. If it's true, it disrupts the entire southern border. So the Ming emperor fires off a severe warning to Annam's king, a man named Li Hao. But King Li Hao writes back, playing completely innocent.
Which is just a masterpiece of geopolitical gaslighting.
Truly. King Lhasa Hao's letter essentially says, I absolutely did not attack Laos. I just sent a small posse to arrest a border criminal, and that was it.
Right, just a minor police action.
Right. He even plays dumb about the geography, writing something to the effect of, I don't even know where this Babai place is. How could I possibly be attacking it?
So the emperor is sitting in Beijing reading a report that says 20,000 people are dead, and a letter from the accused saying, oh, me, never heard of the place. How does he even investigate that?
Well, the Ming dispatched a guard commander named Pan Chi to travel all the way down to Laos and figure out who is actually lying. But Pan Chi mysteriously dies while he's in Laos.
Which is awfully convenient for whoever's lying.
Right. It only adds to the blinding confusion. But a single soldier who had accompanied Pan Chi, a man named Yang Min, he manages to survive and return to the Ming court. And Yang Min just blows the whole thing wide open.
Okay, what does he say?
He reveals that the current cries for help from Laos, they are entirely fake.
Wait, let me wrap my head around this. Yang Min tells the court that the ruler of Laos is actually executing a manipulative ploy.
Yes. The Laos ruler is lying about an immediate existential threat to trick the Ming emperor into sending an imperial army down south.
Right.
Purely so the Laos ruler can use Ming troops to avenge the death of his own father.
That is wild.
Yeah.
The emperor has an army of 800,000 troops at his disposal, and everyone is feeding him completely contradictory information to try and, borrow that army.
Yeah.
It's like being a parent trying to figure out which kids started the fight in the backseat of the car, but with elephants and sovereign nations.
And the stakes are the lives of tens of thousands of soldiers and the stability of the entire region,
So how did the Ming handle this massive information asymmetry?
They deployed strategic patience. The Ministry of War advised the emperor that, quote, words of the Yi are often guileful.
Basically saying, assume everyone is lying to you until proven otherwise.
Precisely. They refused to rush to judgment. They didn't deploy the army based on the first panic report from Yunnan, and they didn't blindly accept King Li Hao's innocent act either.
They waited.
They waited for their Yang Min, the unbiased, boots-on-the-ground witness, to return and provide the actual context.
This is so profoundly applicable to how we navigate modern news or, honestly, workplace gossip.
It really is. The human psychology hasn't changed. When an explosive, contradictory piece of information drops in your life,
Right.
maybe a coworker runs up to you and says management is secretly planning massive layoffs, or you read a completely outrage-inducing headline on social media, your first instinct is usually panic or anger.
You want to deploy your emotional army immediately.
Exactly, but you have to assume there are hidden agendas. The person telling you the workplace gossip might be the Laos ruler.
Oh, yeah.
They might be trying to weaponize your outrage to fight a battle they want to win. You have to practice strategic patience, let the dust settle, look for your own Yang Men who can give you the ground truth, and protect your professional and emotional resources until you know the actual board you're playing on.
Hold your resources until you see the real board. I love that. But it does raise a question. What happens when the Ming court actually did know the truth?
Right.
What if they knew exactly who was causing the trouble and breaking the rules? Because surely you can't just be patient forever.
No, you can't. And how they chose to resolve those verified conflicts is honestly a masterclass in de-escalation. We see this brilliantly illustrated in the story of Lan Xang.
Ah, yes. Lan Xang.
She was a female chieftain in the Mubang region, and Mubang was another crucial territory on the southwestern frontier. And Lan Xang essentially went rogue.
Also,
She refused to submit to the inherited ruler of the region, drove him out with military force, occupied the public office, and completely rebranded herself. She styled herself the Daughter of Heaven.
which is a massive, deliberate insult to the emperor, right?
Oh, completely.
Because the emperor's entire claim to rule is that he is the son of heaven. She's setting herself up as an equal.
It is a direct challenge to imperial authority. So she built up a military force, started pillaging neighboring areas, and essentially sparked a regional war.
Wow.
Naturally, the local Ming military commanders on the ground immediately started sending urgent dispatches to the capital, demanding permission to raise a massive army and utterly destroy her.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yes, because you see some incredible strategic insight from the emperor's top civilian policy advisors, known as the Grand Secretaries, specifically Grand Secretaries Wan and Lu Xiu.
Okay.
They looked at the dispatches and actively argued against their own military commanders.
Which feels totally counterintuitive. Why would you argue against the guys on the ground asking to put down a rebellion?
Because the Grand Secretaries realized they had to manage the hidden incentives of their own middle management, they pointed out to the emperor that the local military commanders actually wanted a war.
Why? What's in it for them?
Well, deploying imperial troops requires a massive expenditure from the capital, which means silver and supplies flowing directly through the hands of the local commanders.
Ah, follow the money.
Exactly. It means opportunities to plunder the rebellious region. And most importantly, when the war is over, it's the military commanders who get the promotions, the new titles, and the financial rewards.
Wow. They realized the people screaming the loudest for a fight were the ones who stood to profit personally from the fighting.
Exactly. The Grand Secretaries reminded the emperor that war drains the imperial treasury and brings untold suffering to the common people. It really only benefits the military brass.
So what do they do instead?
Instead of a bloody war, they advocated a policy of soothing and instructing.
Meaning what exactly?
They advised sending a highly respected senior minister, along with a skilled interpreter, directly to Nang Hanong with a simple offer.
Okay.
We will officially pardon your crimes and recognize your status, but you have to return the lands you stole and stand down.
But hold on, let me challenge that. Doesn't that just look like weakness? I mean, if the emperor pardons a rogue chieftain who calls herself the daughter of heaven, aren't they just giving her a free pass? Doesn't that invite 10 more chieftains to rebel tomorrow?
That is the exact argument the military commanders made. But the Grand Secretaries understood the nuance of power dynamics.
Right.
An inflated ego, calling yourself the daughter of heaven, doesn't actually threaten the Ming Dynasty's core stability, but a 10-year bankrupting jungle war absolutely does.
So they chose the cheaper option.
Exactly. By offering a pardon, they took the oxygen right out of the fire. They completely bypassed the drama-hungry military commanders and offered the rebel a golden bridge to retreat across, saving the treasury millions.
The genius wasn't just about avoiding a war. It was about recognizing that your own, middle managers have completely different incentives than you do.
Yes.
And that bridges perfectly to human psychology today.
It really does, because in your own life, you have people acting as your middle managers, right? Friends, colleagues, or relatives who are completely insulated from the actual consequences of a conflict.
Yeah.
Think about when you have a disagreement at work or a fight with a neighbor. When a coworker urges you to escalate, when they say you should sue them or you need to send an angry reply all right now and copy the boss.
Right. You need to pause and ask yourself, what is their incentive?
Exactly. Do they actually care about the toll this will take on your career or your mental health? Or do they just want a front row seat to some entertaining workplace drama?
They just want to watch the fireworks.
Often, the people cheering for escalation from the sidelines pay none of the costs when things go wrong. Be like the Ming Grand Secretaries. Recognize those hidden incentives. Look for the path of soothing and instructing.
I love that.
Ask yourself, can I de-escalate this? Can I offer a compromise that allows the other person to save face? Because 9 times out of 10, escalating the conflict costs you far more emotionally, professionally, and financially than it costs the people egging you on.
Soothing and instructing. I feel like that is going to save someone a massive headache at the next family Thanksgiving.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, as brilliant as that diplomacy is, it didn't always work, did it? Because when diplomacy fails, the outline of these sources shows us the catastrophic long-term consequences of a broken system.
Right. It's the ultimate Game of Thrones. When you step back and look at the broad sweep of the Ming-Shi-Lu over these 2 centuries, you see the devastating dangers of a power vacuum.
Yeah, the sources recount this truly gripping, tragic saga in Annam. A minister named Li Ji violently usurps the throne from the ruling Chen family.
Right.
He changes his name, rewrites the history books, and systematically hunts down and kills almost all of the Chen heirs to solidify his power.
It's brutal. But one grandson, a young man named Chen Tianping, manages to escape the purge, and his survival story is just harrowing. He flees into the deep mountains, hiding in caves, eating scavenged food to survive. He eventually makes it all the way to Laos, and after years of struggle, travels to the Ming capital in Beijing.
Wow.
He throws himself at the emperor's mercy, begging for imperial help to restore his murdered family.
And the Ming emperor is actually moved by this. He agrees to help. He sends a massive escort of 5,000 elite troops to safely return the surviving grandson to Annam to take his rightful throne. But Annam has set a trap. They ambush the Ming escort at the border, slaughter the troops, and murder the grandson right in front of the Ming generals.
It's an unprecedented betrayal. And naturally, the audacity of slaughtering an imperial ward sparks a massive tragic war that drags on for decades.
Decades?
Yes. And that cycle where violence destroys regional stability, it just repeats itself. Later in the timeline, we see the rise of a state called Ava Burma. And it starts over a seemingly petty interpersonal dispute.
Oh, right. Ava Burma demands that a local chieftain hand over a famously beautiful girl named Zhao Wu Gang.
Yes.
The chieftain doesn't want to, so he tries to pull a fast one. He does a bait and switch and sends a completely different girl instead.
Which goes over exactly as well as you'd expect?
Not well.
No. Ava Burma is furious at the insult. But They use this dispute as a pretext to launch a massive invasion. They capture the chieftain, and over the coming decades, Ava Burma becomes an unstoppable, violent force. They systematically dismantle what the Ming called the 6 pacification superintendencies.
And these superintendencies were basically the buffer states, right?
Yes, they were the delicate network of border territories that kept the entire region stable. If we connect this to the bigger picture, what the Ming were constantly trying to maintain was a structural balance of power.
Right.
They explicitly referred to this geopolitical strategy as keeping the regions equal in strength, like a dog's interlocked teeth.
I love that phrase, meaning as long as all the teeth are in place, the jaw works perfectly.
Exactly. As long as Laos, Chile, Mubang, and the others were roughly equal in power, they checked each other's ambitions. No single state could make an aggressive move without getting bitten by the others.
But when that balance failed,
When a power vacuum opened up because of an invasion or a deposed ruler, the interlocked teeth were broken, violence erupted, and an aggressive state like Ava Burma could just swallow its neighbors whole.
so what does this all mean for us? Because, we aren't managing buffer states in Southeast Asia.
Right.
But I think about this in terms of friend groups or corporate departments or community organizations. It's exactly like when a company restructuring removes a senior manager who quietly kept 2 rival departments in check.
Yes.
Suddenly, the interlocked teeth are gone, and everyone is out for blood trying to expand their turf.
That is the exact lesson. You have to understand the structural balance in your own life. If you are a manager at work, if you are a parent managing siblings, or if you are a community leader, you must realize that a sudden power vacuum or the sudden removal of established boundaries will inevitably lead to conflict.
Right. You can't just remove a structural boundary and expect everyone to play nice out of the goodness of their hearts.
No. If you see an Ava Burma in your organization starting to swallow up responsibilities, testing boundaries, and capturing turf, you have to intervene immediately.
You have to act.
Maintain your interlocked teeth by setting crystal clear boundaries and mediating disputes early, rather than waiting for an emotional ambush. If you let the balance fail and the vacuum open up, the emotional and professional cost to restore peace will be infinitely higher.
Wow. Okay, this has been an incredible journey. We started with the Ming Dynasty, casting bronze tallies to invent 15th century 2-factor authentication.
Who knew, right?
Right. And then we navigated the wild fake news of the borderlands, learning not to deploy our emotional armies until we see the real boots-on-the-ground facts. We learned how to outsmart drama-hungry middle managers by choosing the path of soothing and instructing over costly escalation.
Yeah.
And finally, we saw the absolute necessity of maintaining the interlocked teeth, managing the balance of power to prevent a vacuum from tearing your organization or your family apart. You can genuinely use these exact strategies, verifying sources, practicing strategic patience, questioning incentives in your everyday life, starting right now.
It is remarkable how the mechanisms of power and the psychology of human relationships remain so constant over centuries. But there is one final, lingering detail from these sources that I want to leave you with.
Okay, what is it?
The Ming emperors ruled millions. They had vast armies at their command. But sitting in their palaces, they were entirely at the mercy of the translators and the local officials who filtered the information coming from the borderlands.
Wait, so they only knew what their translators chose to tell them?
Exactly. So in your own life, sitting at the desk of your own empire, who are your translators? Who is filtering the information you receive about your friends, your workplace, or the world? And how is their translation subtly controlling your empire?
Man, that is a thought that will definitely stick with you.
It's a powerful question.
It really is. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Ming Shilu. We hope it gives you a new lens for navigating your own borderlands. Until next time.